You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast with your dating coach, Trip, from tripadvice.com. Do you struggle with getting girls to like you? You'll learn step by step how to talk to girls to create deep connections, whether it be for one night of wild fun, a 1-week fling.
Are you currently involved in a sexual relationship?
Or for a lifelong partner.
Full of long-lasting pleasure.
Here's your host, Trip.
Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. This is your host Trip from tripadvice.com, and today's episode is sponsored by Spartagen XT, your all-natural supplement and resource to boosting your sex drive and boosting your libido. So if you have trouble keeping an erection, if you have trouble finishing too fast in the bedroom, if you feel your testosterone is too low and maybe you're not getting as interested in sex as you used to be, or maybe you get too nervous around girls in the bedroom, well, this all-natural supplement filled with herbs and filled with vitamins is here to help you with that. It's here to help raise your testosterone in an all-natural way and here to help boost your sex drive. So check it out at SpartanLibido.com. Again, that is SpartanLibido.com to learn more about how this can help you in the bedroom. Today's episode, we are talking about how to attract foreign women. Where did I come up with this? Well, it is a question, and a good one at that. In fact, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little challenged by this question because in my experience, I have not gone out and tried to attract many foreign women. Of course, yes, I have done many travels, and I have met on the United States soil many foreign women, but I don't have as much experience with that as I do attracting, I should say, to me, non-foreign women, which just means American girls or women who have been here for a while. But I have some great tips for you, stuff that I've learned in the past, some stuff from my experiences, and also some great information from other people who I've learned from, and I'm going to share that with you today. And this came in from an awesome guy who left a voicemail, and if you have a question, you want to leave a voicemail to get answered here on the podcast, you can do that. All you got to do is call in 323-432-0025. Again, that's 323-432-0025. Call into the How to Talk to Girls hotline. Leave a voicemail and I'll answer it and I will feature you on a podcast like I'm about to feature this person right here. So he's going to ask the question. I guess I kind of spoiled it for you already. He asks how to attract foreign women, but let's listen to his voicemail so you can get a little bit more context to see kind of what's going on with him. So here it is, and then we will answer the question.
Hey Trip, my name is Jay. I'm 20 years old and I'm from San Diego, California. And my question is did you have any tips on conversation techniques or nonverbals in order to pick up foreign women? The area where I'm at, there are currently a lot of women from Brazil, Norway, France, and their English isn't always the best. And so I was wondering if you had any techniques on how to overcome this and how to go out on a date with them. Thanks for your time.
No, Jay, thank you. Thank you for leaving a voicemail. Thanks for asking a question that I really haven't gotten before. Like I said, this is something that has not come up yet, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have it here on the podcast. So how do you attract foreign women? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is this idea that you're going to be talking to women who obviously, like you said, aren't that great at English. And here's something kind of cool about that. I feel like it's a little bit less intimidating. It's one of the things I remember from approaching girls who didn't speak English that well. It's a little less intimidating. I'm not sure why. It just feels like, it kind of gives you time to sit there and have the conversation with them. You might have to repeat things a little bit because they don't understand you right away. So that kind of makes it like there's less pressure on you in a sense. I know it'd feel like, well, there's probably more pressure because you're trying to communicate with them and it's difficult. But I don't know, something about it. So actually, that was the kind of first thought that came to my mind. This might be something that you want to do. You, the listener, might want to do more is try to approach foreign women, or I should say, don't be intimidated of it. If you see a girl who doesn't really know English that well, go over there, talk to her, start a conversation. Might be less scary if you have that approach anxiety or nervous to talk to girls. So when it comes to talking to these girls who don't understand English as well, or they are foreign, you have to remember that you're going to have to be a little bit more, how do I say this? Not assertive per se, but you got to be really clear with your communication. Or I should say, here's what I'm trying to say. Not clear with your communication, but clear with your, well, yes, obviously that, but clear with your intentions. That's really what it's all about. Okay, clear with your intentions. So you're going to have to kind of man up in a way and be able to have the balls to tell a girl who is foreign that you are interested in her, right? That she's cute, right? Things like that. So there are going to be all different types of foreign women that you can approach. I'll be honest with you, I don't have the answers right now to tell you what it's going to be like to approach a Brazilian woman versus a Eastern European woman, or I don't know, an Asian woman, right? There's all different types of cultures out there. I have not mastered all of the different ways to approach all these types of girls, and I'd be really shocked if there were many guys out there who have. I'm sure there are guys who have kind of mastered that, but I'm going to teach you more on this podcast, a little bit more how to master that, right? Because I haven't. I'm not going to sit here and BS you. I have not taken the time to really master how to approach all these different ethnicities, right? There's so many out there. But I will tell you that there is a way to kind of get better at this. First, I know I'm on a tangent here. Let me kind of finish my thought about this idea of having more clear intentions. I just remember whenever I would approach a girl who was foreign, I wouldn't really beat around the bush too much. You know, I wouldn't really do anything that was indirect. I would go a little bit more direct, but I would also be very careful about being too physically assertive. Verbally assertive, fine. You know, when I say assertive, I mean letting them know that they're cute, that you like them, that you're attracted to them, asking them out on a date, right? Things like that. But physically, I'd be a little bit more hands-off because it's very difficult to know in terms of the culture how that works. For example, this is something that I heard from someone before in terms of Asian women, is that they are a little bit, again, I'm not trying to generalize too much here. This is just something that I heard. Okay, but we'll talk about that in a second too. This concept of generalizing that I don't like, but I've heard that they are a little bit more shy or a little bit more reserved. So going and touching them and doing a touching move, even if it's like a high five or something like that, may really not work in your favor as much as it might if you're doing it to an American girl who's more used to something like that. Okay, so my point is you kind of want to feel that out a little bit and not, well, no pun intended, because you don't actually want to feel anything, but you want to feel that out in terms of being physically flirty with them and be a little bit more verbally flirty. So just to kind of wrap up my little point here is you can kind of have this opportunity here with some of these girls to be a little bit more verbally assertive and have more intentions telling these girls that you're interested in them. Okay. And also you want to be very smiley, very happy. Think about, and this is kind of common sense here, but just some things I've been thinking about is there are kind of similar, basically all around human things that we all do, no matter what culture we're from, no matter what ethnicity, right? Things like smiling, I'm talking about body language, nonverbal cues, right? The frown face, crying, smiling, anxious, worried, scared, whatever it is, we all kind of have those. Like, you know, someone across the world usually isn't smiling if they're very, very sad, right? It doesn't matter where you're from. So you want to kind of use those to your advantage, meaning, well, smile a lot, be very happy, be very energetic, right? Things that they can read, things that they can understand. So a lot of nonverbal cues are going to be very important in terms of attracting anyone from a different culture. Okay, so think about that. Put that in the back of your mind. Now, also, what I was saying before with generalizing, that's kind of one of my bigger ideas here, because I did do a video about how to attract foreign women on YouTube. And one of my things is that most women, no matter what, are attracted to a guy who is masculine, right? It doesn't really matter where you're from. Yes, it does differ from culture to culture a little bit, but don't think about this too hard. Just remember all the things that I've taught you on this podcast and on my YouTube channel in terms of being a masculine alpha type of guy, right? Someone who's confident, who's dominant, who's charming, a guy who has good style, who has passion, has their life together, right? All those things. Most women, no matter where you're from, they're going to be attracted to that, and they're going to be interested in that. So I want you just to remember that in terms of not just thinking about, oh, well, she's from this culture, she's this, she's that, she's probably going to like this and that. Really, you just want to go in, you want to be the best person that you can be, the most attractive person you can be, the most masculine that you can be, right? And at the same time, not worrying too much about, oh, well, they're from Brazil, so they might like this, or they might like this. You know, you might have heard somewhere, well, here they like guys who are super manly. It's like, what are you going to do? You're going to start changing who you are and changing, you know, everything about you just to attract this type of person? No. In terms of conversation skills, you still have to have the normal conversation skills. You know, it's like, Jay, you asked, well, what are you supposed to say and what are you supposed to do? It's, you know, it's the same exact thing. If anything, what I wouldn't do is talk too much. Here's a great tip. And by the way, you're lucky if you have been listening so far, because this is going to be my best tip I'm going to give you, right? Because I love telling you the common mistakes that most guys make, really that screw them up in terms of attracting all kinds of women. And this is the big mistake most guys make with foreign women, is that they only talk about the culture. How boring is that? You know why that's boring? Because every guy is talking about that, right? Think about a foreign girl who's very attractive, who is in in somewhere where she's foreign, right? Like the United States, right? Let's just say the Brazilian is in San Diego and guys are approaching her. How many of these guys do you think are talking about, oh, what's Brazil like, and why are you here, and and let's talk about Brazilian culture versus American culture? Don't get me wrong, that could be a good opener, something to start with, but don't make your entire conversation about that. So really my big advice here in terms of attracting foreign women is treat it like she's not foreign. That's kind of the big thing. Try to treat it like she's not foreign. Treat her like any other girl that you would. Okay? Treat her like any other girl that you would. Have the good conversation. Really be able to show your masculine side. Take charge. Right? Show your intent. Do the flirting. Have the same types of conversations. Work on going off of tangents. Don't just focus on one topic of conversation, i.e. probably something about where they're from and all that stuff. Again, it's okay if you hit those topics a little bit, like you're asking a woman from Brazil, you know, what are some cool things to do when you visit there, right? That's fine, but don't make that the point of conversation, because you want to be the exception. That's what all this is about. That's what this entire podcast is about, is you becoming the exception to every single other guy out there. Now, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty details of, well, what is it going to take to attract a woman who is of this culture and that culture, if you really want to try to master that, and here are some of my tips more on how to master something like this. If you really just want to get, really into, attracting girls who are fresh off the boat, right? That type of girl. Well, the best thing you could do is do research by talking to some of these girls and asking them about the culture. Ask them about the dating culture specifically. Okay, and this could be a great conversation to bring up anyways, because girls love talking about dating. So that could be a good topic of conversation to kind of get the flirting. If you ask a girl from Brazil what the dating culture is like, then that's just going to kind of bring the topic of conversation to this point where you guys are talking about dating, and that will just start leading to you not being in the friend zone, because that's an easy in for you to start flirting. She says something like, oh, guys usually, in France or whatever, they kiss the woman's cheek to say hello and goodbye or something like that, right? Then you go in and you do that, right? So that would be something that's kind of flirty and fun. Now, what you want to do to master this is ask them about the dating culture. Find out about what it's like there. Also, here's a great tip. If you're really into Brazilians, for example, and I'm not really sure, again, how you're going to do this. I mean, get creative here, but try to find Brazilian guys and talk to them. Okay? Don't talk to guys who have attracted Brazilian women. You could, but try to talk to Brazilian guys. Again, this is really if you want to get into like nitty-gritty details. of what Brazilian women like. But again, it's kind of generalizing, and you might want to just stick to what I said before. But again, I want you to kind of take all different types of routes, and there's more than one way to skin a cat. So go in there, talk to some guys who are Brazilian, for example, and ask them what the dating culture is like, right? Learn about the culture. You could probably learn this online too a little bit. I don't know how much great information you're going to get. You might get very general information about what the dating culture is like, but you might be able to find it, like dating culture in Brazil. Doing something like that, you're going to find out a lot of great information there on, what it's like. I think mainly the information that you want to be looking for is not necessarily what they like, but what it is that they're not used to or don't like, right? The example I had there is maybe with Asian women, how they're a little bit more reserved. Well, that's something good to learn, so you know not to be too assertive with them, because you might scare them away, okay? So you kind of want to learn more about the what not to do, because the to do, the stuff that you should be doing, I mean, really, it's the stuff I've been saying to you, because most girls are attracted to guys, who are men, who are the attractive guys that we've been talking about here. Go back to episode, I don't know, somewhere in the first 5 episodes of this podcast where I talk about the 8 C's of attraction, the type of guy that gets the most high quality attractive women, okay? Because really that's the guy that you want to be. And here's one more tip that I did a little research on for you that I can't believe I didn't think of, and this is amazing, right? So if you're interested in a woman who happens to be Brazilian, again, just using this example for Jay, learn their language. If you're just like, I'm really into Brazilian women, learn their language, right? Learn, Portuguese. I think there's some awesome apps that are like free. I think there's one called a Duolingo. By the way, I'm not an affiliate of this company. It's like Duolingo, but I think they might only do like French and Spanish. I don't know if they do Portuguese, but yeah, get something like that. Rosetta Stone, learn how to speak their language, even if just a little bit. If you can learn a little bit of the just main vocabulary or some words or some common phrases, right? That's going to be a great way to attract a specific foreign woman. And if you're just like, well, I'm not really into a specific type of woman, I'm really just into kind of any woman that I find attractive, and I just want to know, well, if they happen to be foreign, then I want to learn how to talk to them. Well, then again, you don't have to go as far as learning how to speak their language, but just be the man that you need to be. Don't talk too much about the fact that they are foreign, right? Stick to the conversation that you would normally have and move from there, move accordingly. And also, like I said, kind of be careful about being too physically assertive, unless you've heard otherwise. But anyways, you kind of want to do that with any woman you talk to. You don't really want to do that. You want to look for the signs, even if it's a girl who isn't foreign, right? A girl who's American, or a girl who's whoever is listening to this podcast, right? Whoever you are in your country, you want to make sure that you're always calibrating to who you're talking to, right? So if a girl's not showing any interest in you whatsoever, are you going to be trying to hug her or trying to touch her more? No, not yet. But if you see that she's kind of shown a little bit of interest, you guys are having a good conversation, then you can go in for, a good touching move, whether it's a hug or a high five or touching her elbow while you guys are talking, or her shoulder, or, giving her one of those high fives where you kind of hold her hand for a second, or a seductive handshake, something like that, then that could work. So again, everything always boils down to calibration, which I've talked about all the time on this podcast, okay? So just remember that. So I hope that helps. Again, I'm sorry, and I'm just admitting to you, this is not an area of expertise in terms of how to attract foreign women. But I tell you this, the information that I've given you on this podcast is some of the best, okay? I'm just saying that because I would never do a podcast and give information where I was kind of like, oh, well, I'm not sure if this is the best route. No, I did some research. I kind of thought about in my head what it was like when I was attracting women who were foreign, and I'm giving you the best of the best here. So don't take this information with a grain of salt. Really try it, use it, listen to it, learn from it. And if you want to take this even further and there's something I didn't answer, then go ahead, do some research, find some other good information. But I promise you, if you just follow these few guidelines, you should do very well in terms of attracting women who are foreign. Just keep on working on being your most attractive and best self and turning yourself into the man that you want to be, okay? There you go. This has been the How to Talk to Girls podcast. Don't forget, if you have any issues in the bedroom, pick up Spartagen XT. Learn more about that at SpartanLibido.com. That link is in the show notes. And thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next week.
Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. Over 18 and want a question answered on the podcast? Email all your questions to Trip@tripadvice.com.